Hello, it's James here. There's a very good saying that the devil pulled the greatest trick ever. Not in that he proved that he does not exist, but that he proved that he is God, and everybody has fallen for it. I think the problem lies generally in the physical act of the cutting of the umbilical cord from the moment you are birthed. Very interesting word, that, birthed, because this whole world does work on Admiralty law. And I believe, or I feel, that humanity suffers from this longing, this desire to want to belong to something but not being able to find out what it actually belongs to. And so you have all these artificial divisions put upon humanity. You can align yourself to a race, to a nation, to a religion. There's a common bond and agreement with a select group of people, which this control system is just laughing at every one of us. This world is a stage, and it's like a game of drafts or a game of chess, and everybody right around the world is being played as pawns in this game. You've got those that are up in arms defending the border against this migrant caravan or refugee caravan, whatever you want to call it. But the big why, the big question that no one seems to be asking is, how does 4, 5 or whatever thousand, how many thousand people all have this same thought that they're going to march on a particular country and expect to cross the border of that country? So straight away you have what is known as the, shall we say, the right wing, who are going to defend their border. You have those that are saying these people have a right to live and we should let them in. But no one is actually asking the question of what is driving these people to all head in the same direction. I mean, from the logistical point of view alone, what are these people going to do for food or for water or for sleeping? Never mind the days that they're actually going to be walking. No one is asking these questions. And this pitting one group of humanity against another group, when you've got far more alarming problems that are facing everybody, it's high time that all of humanity actually stood as one and forgot about their differences and looked at the system that is in place that is keeping you all fighting and arguing against each other. I mean, you've got this 5G rollout. It is clearly evident in the United States, in Northern California, you have these horrific fires. Yes, the human casualties have been enormous, and it is clear that these are direct energy weapons coupled with the use of the smart meters. And people have no chance. It is so sudden. They are being burnt to death in their cars. But let's not just think about humanity here. What about all the trees, all the foliage, all the insect life, all the bird life, all the animal life that is also being destroyed in that situation? Now, there is this railroad going through Northern California, and that's a very nice way of clearing the population off the area. There is also talk of untapped reserves of gold beneath the ground. Then there's also the talk of it being ancient burial ground. So what a wonderful way of clearing the population and then closing off from the public and carrying out whatever they want to do in secret. In the UK, we have a situation with the 5G, which has been unrolled in Gateshead, and there is ongoing investigation into that. 240 scientists have already said that it is unlawful and illegal, and the electromagnetic field emissions that are coming from these smart meters are deadly. We're talking weapons grade radiation coming off these things, but it's not just the smart meters. If you've got an Xbox or one of these PlayStation things that's plugged in, even while it is looking for a Wi-Fi signal, that is putting out a harmful radiation at you. Similarly, if you travel on public transport or you go into a shop, you will see advertised everywhere free Wi-Fi. What is that doing to people? We are losing all sorts of skills, and it is criminal what is happening right around the world. You have a smart system in China that is now coming into place where if you dare to criticize the government, you can be locked out of that system. You can't get credit with this smart system. So then what choice do you have? You become a criminal to survive, then they lock you up and put you in a prison. Full prisons are very profitable to private enterprise. And all this is going on right under everybody's noses, and no one seems to be looking at the real problems. And I'm going to say to everybody, I would like you all to go on the Thecrowhouse YouTube channel, listen to Max Egan. He is on, I think, episode 356 now of a series of broadcasts called Surviving the Matrix, and look in particular at one called History is a Lie, We've Been Set Up. He makes some very good points, because it is quite clear that the history that we are told is far from the truth. I keep seeing a lot of posts at the moment about if you are in the North America after 1492, you are an immigrant and you do not have right to that land. But I'm going to throw something else into the equation here. The tribal people of North America are part of haplogroup X2X, which originates in Europe. So clearly, the history that we are told is completely wrong and false. Look also at these rock-carved structures, these wonderful things. Now, is it really logical that you start at the top and you start carving downwards and create an entire city? Or is it more likely and more logical that those structures were already there? We have the technology now. Everybody has a phone, a smartphone or whatever it happens to be, where you are tracked. If you pay by a credit card or a debit card for any goods, the time you made that transaction, what you were buying, and your location is being recorded on a central computer, whether it be the Google Cloud or whatever. That information is being recorded. And look what happened in the United States. How many people got that alert on their phone from President Trump, which is basically telling you, we know exactly who you are and where you are, and we can get you at any time we choose. Now you imagine, never mind ramping up the voltage on the smart meters, I mean, they are a Trojan horse, they are a killer in the home, same as these sex robots. Why anybody would want to even have one of those is beyond me, because unless you know what is exactly in that circuitry of that robot, you have a killer in your home that could turn on you at any time. But let's put this other scenario. What if, as Max Egan has suggested, there was a mudslide which was a worldwide phenomenon it was all over the world, and the mud was turned to liquid and entire populations were eliminated. Now this could be very easily done selectively through the mobile phone network, through this smart network. They could take out entire groups of people. They could leave all the children to then do the clearing up, as been suggested. I mean, where did all those children come from? In the 1840s. if there are no parents? Why is you have this worldwide, what they call Greco-Roman architecture, which no one seems to be able to even recreate today? Have we lost these skills? And while we're talking about skills, if you were arrested and you were given that one phone call, how many of you actually know the phone number of your loved one, your partner, whether it be your spouse or your parents, whatever? How many of you could actually dial the number? Because what good is that one phone call if you do not know the number and you've allowed technology to do the work for you? We're losing skills rapidly. We're losing the ability to think and see what is going on. There are plenty of horrific posts on social media showing some pretty horrendous things being done to animals. Rainforests being destroyed. They are the lungs of this planet for which we all need to survive. And by doing nothing, we are consenting to this. There are a lot of you under the illusion that voting is going to make any difference. Well, I can assure you that nobody gets to be a candidate for any political party unless they are already controlled by this banking system that runs the entire world. So it doesn't matter which way you vote, you only have to look at international policy of your respective country, particularly when it comes to the Middle East, and you'll see for I don't know how many years or how many decades it's been that nothing changes. People keep fighting, people keep dying. Nothing is achieved except this global control. And then you look at the religions. People are being very openly critical, or so a lot of people are being very openly critical about Islam and Muslims. But what about Christianity? I was reading earlier about a speech by the Archbishop of Canterbury, which represents the Anglican Church. And all the Christian branches are falling back into line under the Roman Catholics, the Vatican. So if you are supporting that, or you are believing in that, you are therefore endorsing paedophilia. I don't care how many people are upset by this. I'm not here to make friends. I'm here to try and get people to wake up and realise that if we do not stand together, let's take a leaf out of the Disney Pixar Bug's Life. When Hopper, this leader of these locusts, turns round and says to the other locusts, if all these ants were to wake up and stand together, they would lose their power, and that is exactly the situation you have. There have been those that have tried to break out of this system. Most notably would be John F. Kennedy in 1963, and look what happened to him. He knew there was a problem, and he made a speech and said he would do all he could in his power. Well, that just shows you how little power they have. A president is just a puppet. The world is a political stage. If you look very closely, I'm sure you can actually see the strings being pulled. In the UK, we have Theresa May, who is dividing the country. I mean, it's just come out, the figures between December 2011 and February of 2014, where the Department of Work and Pensions assessed people and said they were fit for work. And rather a large number died within 6 weeks because they were not fit for work. And you have variations on this theme everywhere around the world, particularly in the Western world. And if you look at the agenda, the third world is actually coming up to a more uniform level with a standard of living of the Western world, which is actually dropping. I've seen reports from the United States that it is near impossible if you're on the minimum wage, to even afford to rent somewhere to live. Now, there is something seriously wrong with this entire system. I mean, I've seen posts where people are saying it's illegal to leave an animal out in winter. Well, what about homeless people? They're out in the winter. Where is the love and care for them? In fact, where is the love and care for anything these days? It is a dreadful world. I am appalled by it. I've never seen... There's not a species that compares to the stupidity of humanity. Because, as I said on the last video, name me one species where the male of the species treats the female of the species which is the one that carries the new life into this world. What other species is there where the male treats the female as lesser? Surely we should be hand in hand together on this. No more of these stupid differences, because that's the first division. If you want to split people up, well, let's pit one group against another. Regardless of what history actually is, this was a tactic often used by Rome. Many people think that the Roman Empire fell. I would suggest that the Roman Empire split into two, into the Eastern Roman Empire and the Western Roman Empire. And the same authors wrote the Quran and the Bible. But even the Bible, it's ironic that Christians cannot stick to the scriptures or stick to the script, because the only reliable Bible, as far as I can see, was the English translation in 1611, which had 80 books in the Old Testament, 14 of which were removed. Now, I think there's a very big clue in the fact that there are 66 books in the Bible these days. Now, it makes you wonder. The whole story seems to have all been muddled up, especially if you look at the original writings, the original translations. It doesn't say God created the world, it says Elohim, the plural. It says God's created the world. It's just a few points that I wanted to get off my chest here. Now let's talk about North America in 1492. By their own admission, all these tribes said they drove out red-haired giants. So to say that that land belongs to the tribal group could also be seen as equally wrong. But I'm saying let's not put blame here though on one group or another particular group. There is a very real problem that faces not just all of humanity, that is facing all life on Earth. And it is up to humanity to actually do something about it. This whole world seems to be driven by finance. So I would suggest the best thing you can do is start growing your own food. And you're not putting money into this system, because by doing that you are consenting and saying you are happy to go along with it. There are plenty of videos on YouTube if you want to know how to cook anything, to grow anything. There is a very good series of videos called Square Foot Gardening. So even if you only have a small garden, you can start producing crops. You can start producing your own food. And it is a lot cheaper, and it is also very satisfying. It also helps put you back in touch with nature. And I would encourage everybody, as much as they possibly can, even if you're just growing things on a windowsill. It is money, your hard-earned money, you're not putting back into a system that is actually enslaving you. There is a whole world in law that people do not even understand. This whole thing of being registered, you're actually owned and controlled by a corporation without even realizing it. You are not free. You are citizen on a ship. It's something else worth looking into, the Holy See and Admiralty law and how it works in the courts. All these words have meaning, and it is something I would openly encourage all of you to independently look at. Don't take my word for it. Don't just look at one video source on YouTube. Look at many. But I would seriously suggest that you all look at the Thecrowhouse channel in particular, because Max Egan talks probably the most sense that you're going to get. Anyway, I think that's enough for this video. I've talked for 20 odd minutes. There will be a few more from me, and I'm not out here to win popularity or make friends. I'm here to just say it how it is. Whether it offends anybody, well, I'm sorry, that's your problem. What concerns me more is the future of Earth for all life, not just for a select few. And that should be the focal point for all humanity.